guys, welcome back to the Era of ECOM show. My name is Shala Jalali. I'm your host for today, and I want to give a very warm welcome back to our CEO, Tara Krashid.
Hello. Hey, how are you?
So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we promised you guys that we're going to talk to you about. And today, one of the largest requests that we received is about brand strategy. So Tarek, what is it that we're going to talk about today? What is it that listeners can expect from this podcast? What are we going to discover?
Well, we're talking about this famous word that's so generalized in the e-commerce world or in marketing called branding, right? And what the heck is branding, right? And everybody, I mean, we have such interesting listeners. You got listeners who are small business owners, mom and pop shops, somebody who just wants to start a drop shipping, and where and when and how is branding important to any of all of this or any of this or some of this, and what do we do and how do we do it, right? So we're going to go through, I guess, the whole journey of branding and what it means to an e-commerce store owner, a business person, an entrepreneur, and a marketer, a media buyer, a Google expert. Like, what does this all mean? Where is this world headed in e-commerce, and what does branding really mean to e-commerce?
Right. So I think, before I dive into some deeper questions, because I have a lot of questions about why branding is important for e-commerce, let's talk about what branding consists of. Like, when we talk about branding, we're not necessarily just talking about a logo, design, and a slogan. There's so many different elements to branding when we're speaking about it.
Yeah.
What type of elements beyond the logo or color scheme, what type of elements are we referring to here?
Yeah, so first of all, branding, let's look at what branding really is, right? You have a friend named Samantha, right? You have a friend named Samantha. And Samantha went to university with you. She has a personality. She has a character. She has a way that she speaks, a way that she carries herself, a way she looks, colors and stuff that she likes to wear, right? But there's so many Samanthas out there, right? It's just like that. Imagine this. This is you. You are Shala, right? I don't know. You're actually the first Shala I know in the world, right? So I don't know any other Shalas. So you have a unique, distinct brand.
I have an edge out there.
You have an edge to yourself. But think of it as your character side, your personality, and then think of it as your visual side. How you look and perceive to the world, that product or that company. So branding really, the essence of it is the character side, not the visual side. The visual side comes afterwards, right? And in this journey of branding, in the brand strategy itself, we'll go into the details of it. And you're going to ask me, I know you're going to go dig deeper and deeper, and we'll go into the details of what a brand strategy is and then how you develop a visual guideline according to it and how you translate that into the world connecting with that brand, which is so important. So that for me is branding, right? It's your character side, it's your visual side, but it all is developed for an audience, right? You're developing a brand for an audience. So first, utmost, you got to look at your product and you got to look at your buyer personas. Who is your target market? What do they like? What do they like? How do they like to talk? Where do they reside? What are their demographics? What type do they have children? What age are they? What problem is your product solving? And from that essence of your buyer persona and the details of that data, you're going to look at that and you're going to create what is called your brand strategy documentation. Okay, your buyer persona should be documented, and a lot of people like to do it in an avatar. And an avatar is something like a name. It's actually somebody you can, the entire office, staff, people, agencies that you work with can connect with to identify your buyer persona.
Now, I'm going to ask you a very quick question here.
Go ahead.
What comes first? This is kind of like the chicken and the egg. Do you create your branding and the persona, or do you kind of see how the market responds to you? Like, what comes first, the buyer persona, the avatar, or is it the branding?
The buyer persona,
e-commerce, right?
Buyer persona comes first. Buyer persona always comes first. In majority of these situations, there are different stages. Sometimes you are trying to get a lot of information gathered, and you're looking for information in gathering stage, and you're working it. But buyer persona comes first because the buyer persona helps you develop your brand strategy. And how, because remember, one of the parts of your brand strategy, which we're going to go through, is your character side, your purpose statement, your core values. And all these things help make the brand strategy. And I think we should talk about a little later the brand strategy documentation. And that would kind of help everything for everybody to see what we're exactly talking about. And it's not as complex as people make it, right?
Right. So, I mean, that's very important what you said about the buyer personas. Like, that kind of comes first because that's how you're shifting it, right? So that would mean that an e-commerce business would kind of have to kind of get started first. And then as they go, as the data starts rolling in, they then really hammer down the details of who the buyer personas are.
No, well, how can they start an e-commerce? Like they have a product. You're going to sell a product. You're going to solve a problem for a certain market segment. Now that buyer persona needs to be reflected so you can create your brand strategy and your branding that you're going to get out and sell. You can't really get out to the market without that, right? So you want to create the buyer persona. You want to create that avatar, and that avatar that you're creating is a story of a person. Lily's 41. She's has 2 kids, works at a bank, blah, blah, blah. And you try to connect with that person. So everybody who works with that buyer person connected. That buyer persona is so important, and it trails right down to media buying later on. Media buyers are going to use this later so they can target segments and look at their audiences and where they're going to look for and how they're going to remarket. This is an essential piece of document that you're going to need across your entire e-commerce journey.
Let me
Mishy. Oh, leave Mishy here. Come on.
Let me lock her. No, she meows over you. Let me lock her out. Come on.
Oh, that was so good. Who cares? It didn't matter.
No, she would have kept meowing. Sorry. You want to repeat that? Okay, so when an e-commerce is building their brand strategy, their tone of voice, their personality, how important is that?
I don't think we finished that part. I might have to go again to it, right?
Do you want me to ask it again?
Yeah, because I don't think it got cut off in between.
Okay. What was my question? Does buyer persona come first then because you don't have enough data? I was going to cut that part out anyway, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Does it make you look stupid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. So it's going to cut that out. So
you can ask the question, though.
Okay, so Tarek, what I really want to know is, now let's say that an e-commerce business has constructed the brand strategy. You know, they've nailed down their tone of voice, their purpose statement. How important is that for everyone in the company to truly understand it?
We haven't even talked about that yet. We haven't even gone through any of that. We should go through it first. We haven't even gone through that journey. I think you should cut this too. Let's talk about the brand strategy.